Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here today. I am spending the afternoon catching up on videos to get a little bit caught up on things and hopefully have a few videos made ahead. I had planned on one outside today, but you're going to hear in the background the gusty winds, and it is bitter cold out with that. So I decided today probably wasn't the best day to do an outside video, but I just finished up one that will be going up today, and then this one will probably go up next week sometime. So let's hop into it. This is actually a video request by one of you. So I hope this answers your questions. And what her question was how do I make an income from Angora rabbits? Now, I have a lot of deep thoughts on this one, and keep in mind everything that I say is my personal experience with this, and everybody's going to be different. So Hope said that I think she has like 13 rabbits right now. She is making money off babies. That seems to be her best income source right now, and she is collecting fiber and wondering what to do with that. So a little bit of background. I have been doing this a very long time. I have been doing this, I keep saying I need to go back and look at my original blogs, but because I started with a blog, I believe I started in 2005 with rabbits. So that makes it 20 years this year that I have been doing this, and I have had rabbits consistently for 20 years. I have never, in the last 20 years, I have not gone without rabbits. So that's how long I've been doing this. And this completely started out as a hobby for me. I fell in love with spinning, took a drop spindle class, got a spinning wheel, and fell in love and went on the hunt for a fiber animal, found Angora rabbits and fell in love with those, and the rest is history. So I started my little farm with 2 rabbits, and we grew close to 40 at one time, or up to 40 rabbits at one point. And I've had as low as, I think before we moved here, I had 5 or 6 before we moved back to acreage where I got more. Right now I have 21 or 22 rabbits. So this is a great question. Let me preface it by saying I'm not even making a part-time income at this point. I never really have. And that's been more of a personal choice by me. When we started this, we have 5 children. Our youngest was probably 2 or 3 when I got rabbits. And so we had 5 kids. We homeschooled. We were also foster parents and adoptive parents. And so we were busy people. And this was just really something I purely enjoyed. I loved having them. And it was great for the kids to learn how to take care of animals. And they helped me with all the chores and everything. And so when I started, I started by selling things to family and friends, stuff like that. I did farmers markets. I found one particular farmers market where I would call it a more high scale farmers market, or it was a nicer town, a little bit more upscale town that had a really nice farmers market weekly, and they had lots of variety. What I found, I did a lot of craft shows. In the beginning, I did a ton of craft shows, and it took me a while to learn this, but what I found out was that my hand-grown, handmade yarn that I spent literally hours on could not compete with the $5 red heart scarves that were in the booth next to me. That's just what I found out. And if you make beautiful red heart $5 scarves, good for you. But that never worked for me with my Angora stuff that I had. So I did lots and lots of craft shows and tried to find. Now I have found specific craft shows do work, but you have to look for the right ones. And I have had a few over the years that I have done well at. And what I consider well was it would pay for my booth fee and then a little bit extra money for me. And so when I found those ones, those were the ones that I kind of stuck to. The last few years, I have done very few craft type shows. I only did one last year, and I did it at Anderson Girls Orchard, which is a very big orchard close to us. If you're in mid-Michigan, if you're anywhere in mid-Michigan, you probably have heard of Anderson Girls. And that was a good show. I had lots of, I sold stuff. I made my booth fee back. I got to talk to a lot of people. And so craft shows you have to be very fussy with. Let me go through and tell you what I am making my money off from before I go into what I think is going to work. So right now, I am monetized on YouTube. I worked a whole year plus a little bit to get monetized. I finally hit those markers and was able to do that. But I am still a very small channel, and the money I get is paying for feed for my animals. I'm not making a ton of money off YouTube. I'm making a little bit here and there. So that's one of my incomes right now. I do have a website, and I sell yarn on that. I sell my fiber on that. I sell a few other odds and end things. I sell all my jewelry there. And so I have the website that I have. I pay for a Wix site, so there's money. A lot of the money I make goes to that. And I am also a Spinolution wheel dealer. And so, spinning wheels are a unique item. I am not selling 12 a week. I'm not even selling 12 a year right now, but it's something that supports what I'm doing. And I love the wheels. I love talking about the wheels. And so I do that. Last year I spoke at my first homesteading conference, which was amazing. I will be doing that again this year. So there's of course the stipend for that. And this year I will also be teaching a drop spindle class at the Mitten Homesteaders Conference. So that's another way that I make a little bit of money every year. Let's see, we've got the YouTube channel, the website, the Spinolution wheels. I teach classes. So in the past, I have taught classes at different places, libraries. I've done quite a few through libraries and things like that. I have taught classes at other fiber mills and things like that. I am hoping this year is my year to do some classes here at the farm. And I would like to do some drop spindle and some spinning wheel classes. I kind of tentatively have those planned for this summer. So I'm hoping that all works out. And I also, I sell the website, the spinning wheels, the YouTube channel, the classes. Oh, and I sell my bunnies also. Depending on the year, I usually breed at least a couple of my does every year. I am actually getting ready. I'm trying to do the timing right on this next breed that I do. I'll be breeding one of them here probably in the next couple weeks, so that I have babies this spring. And so I do make money off from babies, and that's a good source of income also. So I say all that to say this. I am making enough money right now that pays for all of my animals, the feed, cages, tools, things like that, anything that I need for them, medicine, hay, I am able to pay for that. Along with that, I have a little bit extra money coming in that I can pay for yarn. I can pay for crochet hook, knitting needles, things like that, tools that I might need to do the things that I do, make the things I make. If I have to get extra bobbins for my wheels, anything like that. So that's about the amount of money I'm making right now. It supports my passion for fiber arts. And also, let me just say, I couldn't do, my husband is a huge supporter of what I do, and I couldn't do any of this without him. Neither the physical work and all the stuff that I have to do. He's always supported me and helped me when I needed to. But financially, my husband really just supports our family and always has. That's something I've been very blessed with, and I've never had to worry about that in regards to an income or anything. So I am at the point now where I am making a little bit of money off from all of this, but it is not a part-time income or anything like that. Now, ideas with this. I have lots of ideas. And the pros and cons are what I always try to balance. Again, I said when I started this out 20 years ago, we had 5 kids. We were foster parents. We're extremely active. We have friends that we like to do things with. We do things with our family often. We have grandkids over. And so the one thing that I have never wanted any of this to get in the way of was all of that. And so I have not, and I have chronic health stuff that I have to be very aware of. It would be very difficult for me to go and do any weekend shows where I would have to go somewhere by myself and do a show. And I always have to keep that in the back of my mind because of some of my health stuff that I have to be aware of. And so that I have not dug too deeply in my brain with that because I just know it would be really hard for me to do. The other con, I guess, on that is that any of these shows that you do, you are either going to be paying for a hotel room or you have a camper. A lot of these shows are set up near campgrounds and things like that. So you bring your camper and that's where you stay for the weekend. I don't have a camper, so that makes it difficult. It's not anything that I have desired to jump into deeply. And if I did decide to do that, I would start making more money than what I am today. That would be an easy way to increase my income coming in is by doing those shows. So I think any fiber show, and I can think of just in Michigan, I want to say there are 6 or 7 right off the top of my head that I am aware of. I know they happen. There's the Northern Michigan Lamb and Wool Festival. The Allegan County one is a huge one in Michigan. Lots and lots of people there. All of those I could do. There's 1 in Ann Arbor, and I think it happens twice a year. There's another one at a vineyard down near Ann Arbor, or Jackson, I think, that they have an annual one. So just off the top of my head, I can think of 6 that happen every single year and I could do. But they're always weekends, and they would not be, I am in almost smack dab in the middle of the mitt. And so everywhere I would travel to is an hour and a half, 2 hours easily. So they would not be drivable for me to drive back and forth Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday through Sunday, whatever it might be. So I do think fiber festivals, if this is something you're looking at, and let me just say this, I am 53, almost 54 years old. I turned 54 in just a couple weeks here. And so age, there's that thing where you're thinking, I just don't want to do this anymore. That becomes a thing, or I don't even want to think about doing this at all. And those kind of things are kind of in my brain now. If I were younger and didn't, if my kids were, I didn't have kids or whatever it might be, I could take my kids with me, then things would be different. But I am almost 54 years old. And so right now, the idea of being gone quite a few weekends out of the year, beyond just Michigan, there is Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, which all have the fiber festivals, which would be really easy to get to. And even beyond that, 6, 7, 8 hours down south, because nothing's ever up north, would be plenty of fiber festivals to probably keep me busy for a good chunk of summer, at least 3 to 4 months. But the idea of being gone every weekend just does not appeal to me. We have so much other stuff going on. for me personally, I would miss out on grandkids stuff, my kids stuff. And so that's just a decision I have made not to do. Now, if I had to do that, could I? Absolutely. I could figure out things, get some help, do things like that. The other thing I always keep in the back of my brain is that if I'm gone every weekend, then stuff around here isn't getting done either. So in order to have all this beautiful fiber and yarn that I'm making, I have animals outside in the backyard that I have to take care of. They have to be groomed. They have to be sheared. And my husband has a very full-time job. So if I were gone every weekend, he would have to do the chores and he would do them for me, but it wouldn't be fair to him. And so that's another thing that I have really tried to focus on, like I said, things I can do here at home, YouTube, website, selling the wheels, stuff like that, teaching classes. So I am trying to create that community close to me so that I can get more and more business that way, so I'm not gone somewhere else. Another way I made money, actually back in the beginning of all of this, probably, let's see, I started 20 years ago, probably 15 to 18 years ago, I was actually contacted by she was another fiber artist, another Angora breeder, yarn spinner, all the things. And she lived in New York. She was originally from New York City. She had a brick and mortar shop and she had morphed into an online website at that time. And she contacted me because she was looking for farmers to support her crocheted business. And so what she did was she was kind of the hub, and she contacted fiber artists like me that raised the Angora rabbits. And she was very much on the humane, friendly fur was one of her big hashtags. Which I am all about. My rabbits are very well cared for. They are groomed gently. None of the funky stuff that goes on with some countries to get their Angora. And so she contacted me and several other spinners in the United States. We were all over the place. And we spun our yarn. She had specific ways she wanted it spun, so we did that. She needed specific colors, so I had a color chart from her. And I sent all of my yarn at that time. This is when my kids were little. This is right after I started out. I sent all of my yarn to her. And I made pretty good money at that time doing that. And so she also hired crocheters to create all of her creations. Now, one of the things I quickly found out then was there was a huge difference between the Michigan handmade market and the New York City handmade market. And she was selling, hats, scarves, different things for $350. And she was doing really, really well. If I were to take an Angora hat to a Michigan market and put $350 on it, people would laugh at me all day long. So I quickly found out the diversity in where you're at, your location. I apologize for the light. I am battling the sun today, so this is going to, the light on my camera is changing, and I actually have lights on. Let's turn on one more. Is that going to help at all? Maybe a little bit. So I quickly figured out the market where I was located was nothing like where I could have been if I were located somewhere else. But I did make some really good money doing that. And it was something that I could do while homeschooling and raising my kids. I would just sit at night and after the kids went to bed, I would just spin and then package up 5, 6, 7, 8 skeins of yarn and send them out to her. And she'd pay me every time. That's when PayPal was first available. And so that was a great job for me. Now, Etsy, Hope did ask about Etsy also. I do have an Etsy. I have had an Etsy for a very long time. I quickly found out on Etsy. I was probably early in on Etsy, but I had no idea how to do it. You guys have to remember when I started out, there was no YouTube, no Instagram, no Facebook, there was no social media of any kind. Like I said, I started out on a blog, and Etsy came into the scene probably the earliest, and I jumped on there, but I had no idea how to do any of it. I figured out the dynamics of listing my products, setting up my shop, all of that. YouTube wasn't a thing. So to get monetized or to get sales and things on Etsy, I couldn't go onto YouTube and watch a video to watch all the tricks and tips and all of that because it wasn't there yet. And so I feel like for me on Etsy, I kind of got caught up in just it grew tremendously about the time that I got on it, and I just got lost. One thing I do notice, I still have my Etsy shop. I don't do a lot with it. It's still there. I might have a couple things on it. One thing I have noticed, I do jump on there every now and then just to do a little searching and things like that I like to do. When I type in Angora yarn, Angora fiber, anything like that, there are very few fiber farms like mine that come up in there. There are a couple that have done really well on there, I think. A lot of the yarn on there, though, when you type in Angora yarn, is not handmade at all. It is production milled yarn. My guess is a lot of it is not from USA or, the United States. It's from another country. And so if you could get into Etsy and figure out how to get your stuff on that first page, and people love to see the animals and the names of your animals. And I know there's a lot of new features on Etsy since I started. You can put videos on there and you can put clips of things on there. That's what I would do. If you were looking to go towards Etsy, really work on getting your stuff on that first page, because even on that first page, Angora yarn, there is not a lot of handmade yarns on there. And I think you could do really well with that. So that's what I would do with Etsy. In regards to markets and things like that, I live about an hour northeast of Grand Rapids, so not real far. But they have come out with the Grand Rapids area and south have a lot of makers markets that are starting to hit the scene. There was a Christmas market that I saw one of my Instagram friends did, and it was from November, the end of November, all the way through till almost Christmas. So it was weeks long, this market that they set up. I think it was called the Kris Kringle Market or something like that. And it was an outdoor market. They had, it was adorable. I thought it was the cutest thing. They had sheds that they brought in for each vendor or most of the vendors. So you were inside kind of, and they had food trucks and they had all of the vendors. And my guess is she did really well at that market, and it ran for weeks. I would love to do something like that, but the idea of driving over an hour one way every day just it's not something I want to do at this point in my life. If something like that was 10, 15, 20 minutes away, then I would seriously consider doing something like that. So I would recommend looking into makers markets instead of craft shows or handmade marketplaces, things like that. Check out local shops also. I have had my stuff in local shops around here. There have been a few craft, I don't like that word because that's not what my stuff is, but that's what they call them. Craft consignment places around, or handmade consignment places. Those do really well. And I've had my stuff where they run a week long, and the person who runs it is actually there doing all of the work. You just come in and set up, put your stuff in, and then they have somebody in there rotating to do all the sales and stuff. So that makes it nice. I've done those. I do have my stuff in a couple local shop type places. It does okay there. And so if you're looking to get your stuff in something like that, I would recommend doing that. Yeah, so I think those are the main things I can think of, depending on which route you are. If you are much more like myself, where traveling every weekend isn't your thing, going different places, camping, whatever it might be, then look into online stuff, whether it be Etsy, your own website, YouTube. Can you start a channel and get an audience going and do that? Those are the kinds of things I would look at. I also am hoping to do, I was supposed to do a Christmas handmade holiday hop, which is where I had several friends set up to do, where we had a open house type, where people were driving from farm to farm or place to place. Everybody that I had either had a little shop in their house where they sell stuff normally, or they were able to set something up in their garage. I was just going to set up in here in the house and have people come through. And so it was more of an open house type thing, and people could come in and shop for Christmas and things like that. I'm still hoping to do one this year. We had to cancel. We had a couple sicknesses. We had one of the ladies lost her husband. So it was just a lot of stuff, and it ended up only being 2 of us that were going to be able to do it. So I decided to cancel. I am still hoping to do that. So that might be an option for you depending on where you live. Could you do an open house type thing a couple times a year? Do you have enough? I always recommend, do you have enough stuff going on like Instagram, Facebook? Are you connecting with a community? Do you have followers that like your stuff? That's what you really need to build up in order to get people to come to your, to come and get your stuff. I know when I go to different fiber festivals and things like that, I love finding those people that I follow on Instagram and finding their booths and getting to talk to them, because that's my people, and so that's a good way to get connected to people too. Another way that I have not really been successful with is to get monetized on like Instagram, Facebook, things like that. I have had issues with that, actually. I was approved for an Instagram shop on my Instagram, and long story short, it ended up we could never get it to work. I hired a IT gal to help me figure it out. She couldn't figure it out. I contacted Instagram. Instagram couldn't tell me what was wrong. I've been all approved for a shop on Instagram, but I can't make it work, and they don't know why. The last time I talked to a person, which has been a couple years ago here, she thought maybe it was because of the nature of what I do, which involves animals and making yarn from their fiber, which is crazy, I know, but Angora rabbits have a lot of bad press behind them with certain countries doing things, and PETA steps in and all of that stuff becomes an issue. And so that's another option if you could get an Instagram shop going. Again, that all involves getting connected and doing things online. So I think that covers a lot of where I'm at and where I would go, where I've been. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any questions, pop them down below. I always love to answer them. And hopefully I've given you enough information to kind of give you an idea of different things to check out or what you can do. So do I think there is a market for this? Absolutely. Depending on how creative or, how much you want to do, I think there is for sure. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope you get to create something today. Bye.